increase, which has allowed the game to slow down, which I think, results in him being able to play fast with and without the ball.
What's it like in your meeting room? He was kind of quiet around us the other day.
Linjay is probably one of the funniest young men that you'll ever be around, and he doesn't even know it. He just has it's actually refreshing. He has an innocence to him, just from where he came from. A great family, growing up down there in the country. Still has a whole lot of life experience that he has to go through. So there's a lot of things. I wouldn't say he's naive. He just hasn't been placed in those situations. And so, he doesn't always know exactly how to respond. He never responds in a bad way, but you just never know how Linjay is going to respond. And I tell you what, he keeps us on our toes. And he doesn't even know it. He's not even trying to be funny, but, half the stuff that he says, I mean, our meeting room will be in the middle of a serious conversation and he'll say something and we'll just all erupt in laughter just because he's got that spirit around him. And again, you can tell with people that he's not comfortable with and doesn't know, he's going to be shy at first, not going to say a whole lot. But once you get him talking, it's hard to get him to be quiet sometimes.
Syracuse's defense obviously had a rough time last week against a lot of unknowns with Maryland, but they're familiar with y'all. How would you assess where they are just compared to what personnel standpoint, what you saw from them last year? And do you think their first priority is going to be to stop a run like Texas A&M?
Well, I think the way they're structured, that's what they want to do. They want to be an 8-man front team. They're going to play a one-high structure, get that safety or that nickel Sam in the box, try to get to at least a 3-man box or a 4-man box with the backers and the safety down there. So they're built to stop the run. They're going to make you beat them with the pass, make you be patient to go down the field. I think the 2 defensive ends that they have are as good as we're going to see, in this league or at all this year. And they're back. They got a lot of experience. They played against us for several years, so they're going to be confident. The linebackers are new, so it's hard to get an assessment of those guys. And again, I said last week's game, I don't think is a fair assessment. Like you said, there was a lot of unknowns. You could tell that Maryland did a good job of jumping in and out of personnel, trying to make them adjust. But they're very familiar with us. A lot of those guys on the back end, have played against us, so they're going to be confident. They're playing at home. Those guys felt like they played with us last year until late, and some of those guys were there from the year that they beat us. So I think structurally they're going to try and stop the run, and then see if we can be precise with our passing game to move the ball down the field.
Do you have any examples with Linjay of, I guess, how he acts in the meeting room, or like you remember that funny one that you were just referencing?
Some of those things may not be appropriate for this setting. But he asks a lot of questions. Because one thing I try to do with my guys is make it more than just football. Make sure that I'm taking time out of our schedule to at least talk about what's going on in their lives. And so there'll be things that we're talking about that he won't know anything about, but he's going to present like he knows. And so he'll make up this elaborate story, and all of us will start laughing. And then I'll say, "Now, Linjay, nah, Coach, I'm just joking. I don't know what y'all are talking about." But so he just does things. He just does things like that, and he's just got his own unique way of how he views the world, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate how he's taking advantage of all of the learning experiences that are associated with this program. And so I've seen just a tremendous amount of growth from a maturity standpoint, but at the same time, it's good to see that he's not losing, his roots of where he comes from and how he's raised between his mom and his grandma.
I know with Travis, he came in better than you guys were expecting. Is Linjay, did you think you were getting this in the recruiting game, or is he been about what you thought?
I felt like, I saw something in Linjay in camp, and I said it before. He reminded me so much of Ellington with his ability to make those full-speed cuts, to see the whole field. So I knew that there was some electricity to him, but what I didn't know, and it's hard to assess with any high school kid, is just how tough and how durable he was going to be. I mean, he's a tough little booger, even though he's only about 195 pounds. Man, he doesn't mind throwing his body around, and he's a guy that not like Travis. They're going to take some punishment, and they may not be feeling 100%, but he's able to push through it. And so that's what I wasn't sure about, and that's hard to assess. But I knew there was some electricity with him, that he was a guy that you give him some space, he can make something happen.
You mentioned him as a desperate hunter. Is that an adjective that you would use?
Him and Travis both. I mean, when you hand those guys the ball, I mean, they're trying to go score every single play. They understand that every play in football is designed to score. They got one guy that they're responsible for. Most times it's going to be the safety, and they're trying to get to that guy, and they're trying to get into the end zone. That's just how they run.
Tony, you mentioned humility and staying humble a couple of times already. How difficult a job is that with these guys? Because, you know, they're already the #1 team in the country, and everybody on the outside, you know, including friends and family, are talking to them like, you know, you're not going to be challenged until Christmas time at the earliest. How difficult a job is that for you guys to keep them on the straight and narrow?
You know, I think it's the difficult. I guess the way to answer that, the difficult part is to make sure that we stay consistent to remind them every single day. I think the culture and the environment here within the structure of the program and the way Coach Sweeney operates, we're constantly, you know, giving visuals and reminders of just how easy it is to go, as he would say, from the penthouse to the outhouse. You know, but I think the biggest thing for us is just to make sure that we're using those opportunities and we don't look the other way. I think that's the biggest challenge. And one of the hardest things in life, you know, that I've learned is how to handle success. And so I think the biggest thing is that windshield mentality that we have. So when we come in today, we're going to put this game to bed and we're moving on to the next, and we know the season starts tomorrow, and we're just trying to go to 1-0. So I think that coach helps by creating that environment, and then as coaches, it's just our job to make sure that every single day we point out and you don't get caught up being so busy that you overlook those opportunities to express to these young men where they need to stay humble.
Are there opportunities where you guys can say, hey, you know what it takes to be the best, so, you know, let's work that way, let's plan that way, let's do that?
Right. I think you always, you know, rely on your experience, and we tell the older guys, you guys know what it takes, but these young ones, they don't. So it's your responsibility in conjunction with the coaches to make sure that they understand what it takes, and then it's our job as coaches is to make sure that we maintain, you know, our windshield mentality and our tunnel vision to be able to point out opportunities for our older guys to express to them, this is an opportunity where you can get better. And there's going to be, even though a lot of people say, and we even feel like we had good control of the game, there's going to be a lot for us to coach off of this tape, because we left several plays out there. And so that's where, as coaches, it's our job to make sure we point out those opportunities and we don't overlook those opportunities because we were able to win the game. And I think that's how you stay humble.
Going back 8 years or so, would you say a big part of the transition from being a really good program to an elite program has been getting the offensive linemen in here that have allowed you guys to go from a so-called finesse team to being able to play smash mouth or ground and pound and that kind of stuff? I
think that's a huge, you know, a huge part of why we've been successful, and hopefully you've heard me say it since Jeff and I have taken over that the guys like the Mitch Hyatts and the Taylor Hearns, you know, they kind of changed the mentality up front to where we could go in and win in the trenches, and I think that Trevor and Travis and all those guys and T and Ross, they get all the accolades, but if you can't block for them, you can't protect the passer, and you can't create holes for the run back, then you're not going to be successful and you can't win. And I think also on the defensive line, being able to go against those guys every single day is really what's helped us on offense to create that physical mindset, because even though we sometimes get lumped into the spread category, if you watch us, I mean, we're a two-back, and Travis runs the ball majority of the time between the tackles, you know, and he gets to the second and third level, and then his speed takes over. But we want to be a downhill, two-back, you know, offense that's multiple, that can throw the ball, make you defend the entire field, but at the end of the day, we're coming right at you in the run game, and I think that's really what's helped us transition. And then also, too, the ability to protect the passer, you know, and the ability to protect the passer in six-man protections, to be able to get four receivers out in routes majority of the time has really helped us to be able to put pressure on defenses.
Specifically offensively, was it a conscientious decision among the staff that, hey, we get the Dukes and the Sammys and the Tajes in here, the missing ingredient is we need those, you know, those big physical linemen up front to really take the next step?
I think, you know, any football program is going to want to, you know, be built from the trenches. I think it was just a function of, it took like a guy like a Mitch Hyatt to come and believe in what we're doing, even though we may not have had that track record. Whereas you can always look back and say, okay, over the years, there's always been great skill guys. You know, at Clemson, same thing. It's always been great D linemen. It's always been great linebackers. But for getting those guys to believe in what we're doing, and then for those guys to come in and have success, I think is what's helped us to be able to continue to recruit at a high level on the offensive line. So I think it was just a function of some of those guys believing in what we're doing, and it coming in, working out for them, and now we can carry that forward.
Tony, how far do you feel like you are from being comfortable throwing Mikey or Chez out there as that third guy?
You know, that the game Saturday, was, I wanted those guys to get in and experience that. But at the end of the day, in a game like that, you got to go with the guys that are hot. So I think, as we go forward, hopefully over the next couple of weeks, the biggest thing with those guys, I'm confident in giving them the football. They know exactly what to do. The question is week to week, can they continue to pick up the adjustments in protection? Because you talk about getting ready for what Coach Elko does on defense. I mean, you get to that third down package, and it's not it's complicated. And if you go back and you watch last year's game, he didn't quite do as much this year. But if you go back and watch last year's game, and you saw Kelly and Trevor both flipping protections, changing the slide, doing all that kind of stuff, and that's tough on a young running back to process that. And then once you process it, now you physically got to go out and you got to block, a linebacker one-on-one in the A gap. So I'm getting closer. Definitely feel good about those guys with the ball. It's just a function of feeling good about the protection plan that week, and then can they go out and they execute the protection plan.